Hello and welcome. If this is your first time, if you are returning, welcome back. We are back. This will be chapter 3 of our Rich Dad, Poor Dad book review, chapter by chapter. I do this every week, and now we're on chapter 3. So if this is your first time, won't gotta, and you don't feel like watching the prior videos, I'll give you a quick recap. We find ourselves in Hawaii with our main character, Robert, who's the author of this book, lived in an upper class neighborhood, but couldn't participate socially because he was poor. His friends looked at him like a poor kid. He wanted to change that, went to his dad. His dad wasn't able to change that. He's poor dad and rich dad, poor dad. So what poor dad ends up telling Robert is, hey, you got to find a way to make some money. He goes a creative route to make money, but not legal. So then poor dad puts Robert onto his friend Robert's friend Mike. His dad is Rich Dad, who is an entrepreneur. He owns businesses. So he tells Robert to talk to Mike Dad to get a job, and they do that. Rich Dad, Mike's dad, gives Robert and Mike a job at a convenience store, stacking, cleaning, doing whatever, 30 cents a week. You figure out, don't really like that. So then he learns about the workforce. Chapter 2 is uh, a time skip. Robert and Mike are old now. Mike took over Rich Dad's business. Robert's retired. Chapter 2 gets into uh, assets versus liabilities. You should really go back and watch it. I'm giving you this recap just in case this is your first time tuning into this channel for this part of the series. But again, you should absolutely go back and watch chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Rich Dad Poor Dad review. So yeah, chapter 2 is all about assets and liabilities, poor, middle, and rich, those three social economic classes. What differentiates all three is really not a dollar amount, it's more so the information and how you apply the information. It's about how you use money, whether you just get money and spend it or get money and reinvest it in order to make that money create more opportunities for you. Again, this is really good. You should go back, watch chapter 1, watch chapter 2. If not, you're just gonna start here, which isn't bad, but you might be a little bit out of the loop. Imagine watching your favorite or watching the series that somebody recommends to you, and you come in like in the middle. You don't really get a lot of backstory other than this preview right here. So what we're gonna do now is get into chapter 3 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So chapter 3 starts off with Ray Kroc giving a presentation. And for those of you who don't know who Ray Kroc is, you might not. Ray Kroc was the CEO, founder, owner of McDonald's. You might be thinking, with a last name like Kroc, how did he get McDonald's? There's a whole movie about that, starring Michael Keaton. I think it was crazy. Look it up. Is wild. But Ray Kroc was giving a presentation with some college students, and then afterwards, the students at the presentation asked Ray Kroc to, you don't got nothing to do, come get some drinks with us, come hang out, come chill, let's pick your brain, chop it up. So he ended up going and they're having drinks, and Ray just asks his questions out of the blue. He says to the people he's sitting with, he's like, "What business do you guys think I'm in?" Nobody said anything. They just kind of laughed it off, thinking, which was the vibes, like, we already know what you're about. So he asked it again. He was like, "No, I'm serious. What business do you guys think that I'm in?" One of the one of the students said, and we all know, like, you're in the hamburger business. And Ray said, "No, not in the hamburger business. I'm in the real estate business." So what do you mean? So Ray Kroc gets into how every McDonald's that he owns, he also owns the real estate under it. So whenever you go out and get a new franchise, the real estate under it is bought for the McDonald's corporation. It was a mind trick for me. So what I did was I started doing some research because when I read that a few times, and I was just like, what does he mean by that? I don't understand. I don't understand. So, I start jumping into it. Like, how do you start a franchise? Like, if I wanted to start a McDonald's franchise, what would I have to do? If I wanted to own a McDonald's franchise, whatever, what would I have to do? And you have to, one, you got to pass while financial qualifications. You got to get funding and all that. You have to find, if you wanted to own a McDonald's corporation, a location like a site, you would have to find a location. You would have to get approved for that location, secure that location for McDonald's. and then you can open up a franchise. You own You're a leaser of the McDonald's franchise, but the land under it, the land that the McDonald's the building is actually built on, belongs to McDonald's Corporation. So you would have to go get land for somebody else just to have a McDonald's on top of that. And then after you get started, you're a part of the McDonald's family. So what you'll end up doing is you'll have to buy your product from pre-approved vendors that give a cut of whatever you use to pay for your product. That goes back to McDonald's Corporation. Uh, Ads and marketing, they take 2 to 5% of your gross income. McDonald's Corporation takes that. You got to pay rent at the McDonald's like at the McDonald's the franchise. You got to pay rent for that. Uh, your supplies, all of that. Like as soon as you get that McDonald's, like, yeah, you got the franchise, but you giving a cut back to ownership the whole entire time, and you pay for things like ads that you wouldn't be visible without this. So take a Super Bowl commercial. You get a McDonald's Super Bowl commercial. You own a McDonald's franchise, like a local McDonald's franchise. You got to pay into the pot to get that commercial up. Knowing that, it's like, yo, he flipped it. They said in the book, I don't know if this is still like a thing. He said in the book, McDonald's owns more real estate and more corners than the Catholic Church. McDonald's got more land, more real estate than the Catholic Church. That is wild. But he's known for burgers, not real estate. So the title of this chapter is Mind Your Business. And it gets into what you do versus what your business is. Like what you do to make money and what you do to make money work for you. So Ray's profession or his claim to fame was burgers. That's his profession. His business, however, is the real estate. And Robert starts the chapter off with that story just to show how a lot of us work really hard to make other people rich. Corporations and whoever it is that employs us, we work really, really hard to make them rich. And we don't give a lot of that energy to ourselves. Sometimes it's out of ignorance. Sometimes we just prefer to work for somebody else. That's the thing. But we can't confuse our business with our profession. Again, the profession is what you do to make money. Your business is what makes money for you. At the time of the recording of this video, and it's wild that I get to this chapter and I do this review now. At the time of this video is October 26, 2025. The U.S. government has been shut down for a while. Prior to the U.S. government shutting down, a lot of layoffs had been happening. As far as jobless claims, unemployment rates, they've gone up. Statistically, they've gone up. There are more unemployed people than there are available jobs. So when we get into the chapter of mind your business, we all need to have something for us. And that's like a common theme of this book. So you're going to hear me say this again and again during these chapter reviews because it inherent at home. In a time like now, you really see the importance of having it. And again, I got to get into this. It's not about it's not about being a CEO. It's not about owning your own business. It's not about being a billionaire. It's not about being a millionaire. It's not about that. Mind your business. The interpretation that I got from it, have something that generates money for you that can't be taken away by forces outside of your control. Because those people that got laid off, job cuts, consolidation, liquidation, Chapter 11, bankruptcy, whatever those corporations go through, Starbucks is around the way is going down. They're closing. You see it on various social media that the employees or former employees that work there is like, yeah, they told us to clean up and they shutting down. They didn't do nothing. Just the way it goes sometimes. You gotta have something that puts money in your pocket. Have pride in what you do, but you gotta have something that puts money in your pocket that you control, that you don't have to rely on because again, it could go away and then what you're gonna do, you don't have any options. So it doesn't have to be you starting a business. It could be investing in anything, stocks, and I'll get into that later. But the I just want to for the timestamp of what's going on, I wanted to get into that because I just thought that was really, really interesting. Um, so Robert goes on to say in the chapter, like he talks to people about what it is that they do. It's like, well, what is your business? They'll say, I'm a banker. He'll go, do you own the bank? He said, no, I just work there. It brings me back to the one of the Dame Dash interviews on the Breakfast Club. Again, if you haven't seen, not the most recent one, but if you haven't seen the Dame Dash interview on the Breakfast Club, go back and watch that. I know I'm giving Breakfast Club plugs, but he says in a not so eloquent way that when he's talking about the cast of the Breakfast Club, the cast of the radio show that he's on the interview on, he said, you guys don't own any of this stuff. They could fire you at any point in time and you would have to go. And everybody's talking like, oh no, like it's okay. Like, we just work here. Now, mind you, the people there at the time had other things going on. I think Dan got his hands on some information and like he was saying it. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong in what he was saying. His delivery was his delivery was terrible. But he was saying that if they could shut the lights off in here, y'all would have to go home and wouldn't have a say in the matter. So we have to acquire assets. That's the most important thing. And again, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So focus on assets and get them. Get as many assets as you can. To make a call back to chapter 2, a big mistake that poor and middle class people make is they believe that a promotion or a higher paying job will help them become financially secure. It only works that way if you use that extra money to get assets. Again, got to get assets. That's going to be one of the key phrases. It's going to be assets, assets, assets. Because again, they can shut the lights off and you can't do nothing about it. A lot of poor and middle class people find themselves being fiscally conservative, meaning they really tight with their money. They don't want to invest. It could be fear, it could be ignorance, it could be whatever. But it keeps them back because, oh man, if this goes wrong, then that's on me. The blowback, I got to suffer the repercussions. Now I have money for XYZ. That's part of the trap. There are ways to do it, especially if you get a promotion or you get a better paying job. There are ways to do it. You don't have to invest more than what you can afford to at a time. It's going to take some time. And then, we get into delayed gratification. We all have things that we spend money on. I'm not saying that this is going to be the easiest thing because a lot of it is psychological. A lot of spending is survival. Is we feel like if we don't do XYZ, then won't make it. You got to make ends meet. But there are little things that are available. There are opportunities there for us to spend differently and do differently. So again, we get into delayed gratification. There's something that we all have spent money on that we didn't have to spend money on, and it's about reallocating those funds into something else. Again, it may not happen really fast. It may not. If you can't if you can't do it on your own, you might want to collaborate with somebody that you trust, put something together, and again, egos to the side. That's Please, egos to the side. Because if the goal is to secure assets, to own assets, to go from one class to another, be it poor to middle class to rich, or hell, middle class to financially stable. Let's throw rich out. From wherever you are to financially stable. If you are not financially stable, for you to get financially stable, it's going to take discipline, it's going to take delayed gratification, it's going to take us not being in a rush to be seen so much, not being in a rush to look like we have it. Because when you have it, you don't got to prove that you have it. You just got to spend differently. So again, could be a personal effect, could be a pair of shoes, could be a vacation, it could be upgrade to your car or whatever. You might not need that loud exhaust. You might not need that. You might want to put that somewhere else, or you'll have people saying, "Oh man, that don't work. That's not for us." The only reason why it's not for everybody is because everybody doesn't have the information. You have free reign to spend your money on whatever it is that you want to spend your money on. And again, Don't spend more than what you can afford to lose. So instead of getting takeout, put that money, you could put it in a pot for a little bit until you're ready to invest it, but don't let it sit too long. But there are ways that we can allocate our funds that'll have a higher return. It might take a little longer, but the return is going to be greater. We get back into the guns and butter conversation, where we buy things that we think have value or they have a high price tag at the time, but they depreciate over time. Robert gets into that as well in the chapter, where people buy liabilities thinking that they're assets, and in times of financial crisis, like, you go to sell those things and you find out that these things are worth maybe half of what you bought them for, and it's really not going to help you out in a pinch. So let's say you bought a car for 70,000. You bought a car for 70,000, had it for a year. You put maybe 15,000 miles on it in that year. I mean, you rip it and run it, but you put 15,000 miles on it in that year, and then financial hardship hits, and now you got to sell that car. Well, now that car is worth half than that, or maybe even 2/3 of it. You don't know, but whenever you drive that car off the lot, it depreciates as soon as you drive it off the lot. So then when you go to sell that car back, is listed as an asset because you have this car that's worth XYZ. That's only because you bought it at that price. The way the assets work is the way assets work is when you buy the thing, if it appreciates over time, when you finally do go to sell it, you'll be taxed on the gains that that item has accumulated over time. So again, cars, not an asset, that's a liability. Personal effects, so watches, with the exception of maybe Rolex, but a watch with a bunch of ju- jewels in it, I'll just say there's a bunch of jewels in it, it's not an asset. The things that we think are important because they have a high price tag are not important. And he really hammered that home in the chapter. So again, put off getting the personal effects, keep your expenses low, and build up research, figure out what you want to invest in, and invest in that. I remember personally going through something like this, not to the effect of a car or financial hardship, none of that. But GameStop back in the day when they had CD games, and I'm dating myself, we had like CD games. You could buy the game, and then if you wanted to get something else, or like let's say part two of the game, or Madden, right? So Madden 2024 or Madden 24 came out, and you would go buy Madden 24, and then when Madden 25 came out, you would exchange Madden 24 and use that money or a percentage of that money to get Madden 25. The game wasn't Madden 25. It don't matter what the game was, but I brought the game back to GameStop. It gave me like $14 for the game. And I was just like, that was crazy, but whatever. So I found myself in GameStop maybe a week or two later. The same game that I turned back in, it was worth $40. They gave me 14. I looked, the price said $39.99. Same game. I'm like, so it was only worth, you was gonna give me 14 for it, and now it's worth 40. So if I bought that for 40 again and I turn right back around, like, hey, I'm gonna sell it back to you, $14 again. So just because you buy something at a high price, just because you buy something at a high price doesn't necessarily mean it's valued at that high price. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it's worth to you. It's not an asset. Because as soon as you go to give it back, you won't even get equal value for it. So the idea behind it is to keep your job, whatever your job is, keep your job and build a solid base of assets in the meantime. So again, do not quit your day job. This book is not telling you to quit your day job. I'm not telling you to quit your day job. Whatever your job is, that is your job. You have multiple jobs. I'm not saying to leave those jobs. Again, everybody's not going to be a business owner, CEO, millionaire. Everybody's not going to be that. So we can just take that thought and get it out the way. It's about being financially secure and not dependent solely on the job or solely on the income. That opportunity is available to all of us. We just got to do the work, do the research, and then apply it and keep applying it. Keep that delayed gratification. keep that in the forefront of our minds. We're building things, planting seeds in hard conversation or a hard concept that a lot of us might have to grasp. We may not see the full fruit of that in our lifetime. But if you have children, if you have family, if you have, people that you want to take care of, that when you're no longer here, you can leave an inheritance. You might plant a seed that you won't get to enjoy the shade of. It just might be that way. So it got to be bigger than us. It got to be bigger than the moment. It got to be more than what we can see, what we can tangibly touch. Because time goes on, and we'll have other generations. Generational wealth starts at one person. One person starts that. One person sparks that and lays that foundation, and it's up for everybody else to build on top of that. So that delayed gratification is an absolute must. So we gotta keep our liabilities to a minimum and build that base. Now, if Robert gets into examples of this, stocks, bonds, real estate, IOU, royalties from IP, but figure out what works for you. If stocks is a thing for you, I'm a day trader. I love what I do. I have good days, I have bad days, but I love what I do. If stocks is a thing, do some research. And all stocks aren't $1 million, $1 billion. It's not. It ain't that. Some stocks are cheap and affordable, that you can buy right now, because they don't all go to the moon right off the bat. But do your research. Google is free. We can look up anything. We look up stuff all the time. Do some research. Figure out how to do it, figure out what to do, and then just put a little bit of it here, there, a little bit of it. Just put it in so that you'll have that portfolio. You can start a portfolio, and then if you want to flip that into real estate, you can. Again, you could you could team up with people if you're in that position. You could team up with people if they sell houses in impoverished places for cheap. All you got to do is not all you got to do. I don't like simplify it, but to buy that home and to fix that home up is going to be a project. But people working together can achieve a lot more than you could alone, because we don't know everything. So that's something. As far as notes and IOUs, I don't know about that. As far as royalties from intellectual property, those things those things happen all the time, especially with the advent of social media. You got phrases that people say all the time on social media. You can patent that. You could look into how to patent that and own that. And if they say it in a movie or if they say it in a song, that'll come to you. The reason why we don't have a lot of this stuff is because we don't know about it. But this book is definitely hitting the light switch in my head, and I'm sharing what I'm learning, and I'm grateful for it. I'll say that. That is the conclusion of the Rich Dad Poor Dad Chapter 3 review. Let me know in the comments if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad Chapter 3. Talk about any takeaways that you got from it that I may have missed. Like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Follow the channel, because this is gonna help everybody. I'm gonna keep doing these chapter reviews. This is an only book. Like, this is gonna be a series. So yeah, like, subscribe, get in the comment, and until then, why not you? Why not us?